Welcome back. I am so
Everybody put your hands in the air.
excited about this one. Alright, so what we're going to talk about today is common multiples and common factors. Now, last episode we looked at prime factors, which are going to be extremely useful for us today. Let's get into it. A least common multiple of two or more numbers is the smallest number that they divide evenly into. Least in this phrase just means smallest. Let's start with an example. What is the least common multiple for 6 and 8? I will show you two methods on how you might find the least common multiple for two different numbers. Now we can do this for 3, we can do this for 4, we can do this for 5 numbers. We can do it for so many numbers, but most commonly what you're going to see is finding least common multiples for two numbers. The first method I'm going to call is brute force method. And in this method, what we're going to do is list out all of the multiples of 6 and 8. So for instance, let's look at 6. We have 6, 12, 6 times 3 is 18.
The next day.
Well, it looks like I have a common multiple here at 24, and I also have a common multiple at 48. Okay, now the point of this is to find the least common multiple. So there's actually only one least common multiple for 6 and 8, and that is 24. So this one right here. So we're looking for this. The least common multiple of 6 and 8 is equal to 24. And so this would be the brute force method, and this is one way that you can find the least common multiple for 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers, whatever. Using this method, we found that 24 is the smallest number that can be evenly divided by 6 and 8. Now this is all fine and good for small numbers, but what about larger numbers like say 51 and 49? Not so easy. So what we're going to do is look at method 2, which involves us using prime factors to figure out what the least common multiple is. Let's go have a look at that. Okay, so in this demonstration we'll look at prime factors of 6 and 8. So what we want to do is we're going to put 6. So what we know now is that we have prime factors 2 times 2 times 2, and for 6 we have 2 times 3. So what we know now is that if the prime factors 2 and 3 are in a number, right, then that means that that number will be a multiple of 6. Likewise, if the number has prime factors 2, 2, and 2 in it, then we know it will be a multiple of 8. These ones here. So all we need to do is find the smallest number that has 2, 2, and 2 as its prime factors, and we need to have a 3. Our least common multiple of 6 and 8 equals. Now we know that we're going to have a 2 times a 3. Well, I have 1 2 here, and so what I need is I need 2 more 2s. So I need 2 times a 2 and then times this 2 here. And what we have is we have the 2 times the 3 is a 6, and the 3 2s that we have here are the 8. And so we know that whatever number 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 is will be a common multiple of both 6 and 8, and not only will it be the common multiple, it will be the smallest common multiple, or least common multiple. 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. Now 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 3 is 24. And that is how you use prime factors to get to the least common multiple of two numbers. This method is really useful when we're doing things like finding least common denominators when we're adding two fractions with a different denominator. Another similar skill that is really useful, particularly when we're trying to simplify fractions, is finding the greatest common factor of two or more numbers. The greatest common factor is the largest number that can be evenly divided by two or more numbers. Let's use small numbers again, like 8 and 12. 8 has factors of 1, 2, 4. What is the greatest common factor between those two? You can see that 4 is the greatest common factor of both 8 and 12. Okay, so this brute force method again works for small numbers, but what happens when we have larger numbers like, say, 45 and 60? Well, do you have a guess as to how we might go about doing that?
I am Optimus Prime.
Okay, so break these down into their prime factors. What we have is we have 45. Prime factors here. our prime factors here. We have 3 times 3 times 5, and here we have 2 times 2 times 3 times 5. Now we look for sets of common prime factors. In this case, I can see that there is a 3 times a 5 on both sides. So when we look at these two sets of prime factors, we can say that the greatest common factor of 45 and 60 is this 3 times 5. And so we say 15 is the greatest common factor of both 45 and 60. So cool. This is just smart stuff, right?
Yeah, this is big brain time.
This method of breaking numbers down into these fundamental building blocks called prime factors is a really powerful method of working with numbers. And consider this, we just found the greatest common factor of 45 and 60. Well, have a go at trying to figure out what the least common multiple of 45 and 60 is using prime factors. Here were our original questions. Have a go. Thanks for watching, and I hope all of this was helpful.